Hello, and welcome to this session, ArcGIS App Studio Introduction. My name is Chris LeSweer. I'm the Product Manager for ArcGIS App Studio. Also joining me today will be Erwin Soakianto, a Product Engineer and Product Evangelist for App Studio. We've got a lot to cover, so let's jump right into it. ArcGIS App Studio is a low-code, no-code solution for creating native apps. So we give you lots of tools and productivity enhancements such as templates, samples, and other things. Why native apps? Why native apps and not building just a web app? Well, there's a few things we can do with native apps. One is that native apps can run offline. You can take your data offline. You can install the app completely on the device so it runs offline. Also, native apps can access device capabilities, such as the GNSS or GPS receiver, the Bluetooth capabilities of these devices. And they can also access some of the operating system capabilities, such as the share menu. And for many people, the most important piece of why they want to have a native app is so that they can publish the app to app stores, whether that's a public app store or just however apps are distributed in your organization. But there are challenges with native app development. The time and cost it is to learn different platforms, new languages, and build apps. How are you going to distribute those apps to others? How are you going to secure the app and the data? And are you going to be able to maintain the app with updates over time? And are you going to have to build an app for iOS, Android, and maybe even Windows, Linux, or Mac? And if you do this, you're going to have to write the code many times. And this is where App Studio comes in. Because the apps we create in App Studio, you write them once, and they can be built and run across all these different platforms. So really, why use ArcGIS App Studio? Use it because it's a cost-effective solution for building native apps. It saves you time, it saves you money. There's a low barrier of entry, so the language to learn and the abilities of just configuring apps is much easier to learn than writing in another language and starting from scratch. You can be more productive in building apps. You can build them quicker and for multiple platforms. So these apps are completely cross-platform. And they're powered by the ArcGIS runtime. So you have some powerful spatial and mapping capabilities in these apps. I want you to think about who are you? Are you a GIS user? Do you have some technical skills? You can build some web maps, maybe configure a template? Or are you maybe a geohacker, professional GIS individual who can write and run Python, maybe dabbles in HTML and JavaScript and cut and paste code, really just not afraid to get their hands dirty? Or are you a professional developer, a code ninja, we might say, fluent in at least one programming language, and you prefer to start from scratch, a web developer, application developer, and love reading documentation? I want you to think about who you are in these different personas, because App Studio really gives you capabilities at all these different levels, whether that's just configuring an app, whether that's extending one of our templates, or writing an app from scratch. You can do all of these with App Studio. I want to talk briefly about some of the apps being built using App Studio. So these are the kind of apps we see people building with ArcGIS App Studio. One kind of app that we see people building, or one category, are public information apps. So these are basically apps where people want to convey some information to the public. These are typically put into public app stores. One example here is this one in the middle, COVID View from Adams County, Colorado, where they give members of the county information about where vaccines are, where high-risk areas are with COVID, what the status is of COVID in their county. So this is one example of a public information app that is built with App Studio. We also see data collection apps as very popular tools or apps being built with App Studio. Survey123 and Quick Capture, professional GIS data collection apps from Esri are built with App Studio. So you can build some very complex and powerful mapping apps and data collection apps with App Studio. And we also see other kinds of data collection apps created, really crowdsourced or citizen science apps, where the public is giving information. Q Wildlife was created for Queensland, Australia, where they can report wildlife sightings, particularly saltwater crocodiles, so they can help manage these animals in the area. Also, we see a lot of 311 apps by cities where people can report information such as graffiti, potholes, or other information back to their city in a dedicated app. There's also business apps. Think of a business app as something that you might typically do in a browser or on a desktop application, but then you want to bring it onto a mobile device. The Wildfire Analyst Pocket's an interesting one. That was built by our partner TechnoSilva, where they let you model where a wildfire is going to go right on a mobile device. So you can choose the location, the slope, the wind, and it'll tell you where a wildfire might propagate, where it might go. Or the Esri support app, where they take the capabilities of going to the website and reporting a support incident and tracking it, but bringing it onto a mobile device. People are also building enterprise apps with AppStudio. Think of these as very focused apps for a very specific workflow, such as Dig Alert, which allows you to complete call before you dig assessments, or the Crowd Counter app. This is part of an ArcGIS solution and allows you to count the number of individuals coming in and out of a location. And then that information also gets pushed back to a dashboard in real time. One success story I want to highlight here is San Juan County, New Mexico. Now, San Juan County is a small, remote county in New Mexico, and they have only one full-time GIS individual. And she was able to create an AppStudio app for iOS and Android called Clean Up San Juan, where the public can report where trash has been placed throughout the county in this beautiful rural area, as well as trash or graffiti. They can collect that information, it gets sent back, put on a map, put it into a dashboard, which then they can go back and get a crew to go clean up that trash later. And as of time of creating this slide, there was over 189,000 pounds of trash created. So it just shows how anyone can create an app with AppStudio and really make an impact in the world. I want to now talk about the AppStudio suite, because really AppStudio, it's one product, but it's not just one application or one tool, but a suite of productivity tools to help you build apps. One is AppStudio Desktop. This is kind of the core, the hub of this product, where you create your apps, you manage them, you complete the settings and properties in your apps and upload those to your organization. We offer a number of configurable templates. I'll talk about those in the next slide. We have AppStudio Player. This is an app that runs on different platforms, iOS and Android and Windows and others. It allows you to run your apps without actually generating a separate build for them. So you can quickly deploy apps onto different devices for testing or for productivity use. We also include the Acute Creator IDE, a complete developer environment for writing custom code if that's what you'd like to do. We offer over 80 interactive samples and some advanced templates, such as Survey 123 and Quick Capture. So we give you access to those templates if you want to extend those. And a CloudMake service. This is a build service in the cloud. So you don't have to set up different build machines for all these different platforms. We take care of that for you. You simply write your app, upload it to your organization, and request a build. Now let's talk a little more about these AppStudio templates. We have Map Viewer for basic viewing and interacting with maps. We have a Map Tour to give you a photo and description of different points in a location to tour you around an area. Quick Report for capturing information, often used for citizen science and crowdsourcing. Scene Viewer for viewing 3D scenes. And the Attachment Viewer, which allows you to give to view a media-focused application. So you're looking at the media attachments, such as photos or documents, just as much as you're looking at the map. One example of an attachment viewer template application is the MCSC Rescue mobile app. This was created by the Missing Children Society of Canada and Esri Canada. This is an important app which helps people identify missing children and bring them back together with their families. I'm now going to give a brief tour of AppStudio Desktop. Here I'm in AppStudio Desktop. You can see I have a number of tools on the right and across the top. Let's start with this big purple button, which is New App, where I can create a new app. Here I've got some starter apps where I can kind of start from scratch if I want to build a new app. I've got some templates that I can work with. These are the templates which I just described: the 3D Scene Viewer, Attachment Viewer, Map Tour, Map Viewer, and Quick Report. I have different layouts in case I just want a basic layout to start my app. I have over 80 samples. These are full apps, so I can run them, see how the bit of functionality works, and then use that functionality in my own apps. And I have some enterprise apps, such as Survey123, Quick Capture, and others. Let's go back to those templates. I'll bring up the Map Viewer app. I can say my test Map Viewer. And say create. So we're going to download this template. So now I have this template as an app in my AppStudio Desktop that I can work with. If I double click on this, it'll simply run here on my desktop, and I can see how this app might look. Now, to make this app my own, to connect it with my own data, I can simply highlight the app and then go to the settings. Here is where you can change the different settings or properties of your app. I can give it a thumbnail, a title, a summary. I can add an app icon, a launch image. I can change some of the properties like the basic colors, point it to the specific maps I want to work with, and other properties. So I can build really a very customized app without writing any code, just changing those different properties. I have some other tools here for managing my app, such as duplicating the app, deleting it, looking at the different files on disks, as well as creating a make or a build of my app in the cloud. And if I want, I can edit the code. We'll see a little bit more on that later. This is just a really quick tour of some of the capabilities of AppStudio Desktop. Now I want to talk briefly about deploying AppStudio apps. Now, if you're deploying to an app store, AppStudio, you build your app on your desktop, you upload to ArcGIS organization, and use the Cloud Make service to create install binaries. That's APK files or IPA files for different platforms, which I then download to my desktop and publish to different app stores so people can get access. But what if I don't need to go to an app store? What if I want to just distribute this to people in my organization? Well, AppStudio has a way to do this. The ArcGIS AppStudio Player is a powerful tool for distributing apps as well as testing apps. You can download AppStudio Player from different app stores, and it's available for all platforms. It's great for testing your apps on multiple devices, but also sharing your native apps with other ArcGIS users. You can build an app, share it to your organization, and then deploy it quickly inside of AppStudio Player. You can also offer a customized experience. So how does this work? Well, you write your app on the desktop, share it to your organization, and then the end users would simply download AppStudio Player, log in, and then download and run the app you're using. So it really gives you a lot of power, really gives you a lot of control of who has the apps and when they get deployed. So now I'm going to do a quick demo and show you how to deploy apps with AppStudio Player into an organization. To start off, I'm going to give a brief demonstration of AppStudio Player. Here, I have AppStudio Player running on my smartphone. I'll launch it and I can see the apps that have already been downloaded. If I click on the download button, I can see other apps from my ArcGIS organization, which I can then download, such as this nearby app. I now have a native app on my device, which I can now run. Again, this is a ArcGIS runtime application that I'm running locally on my device simply by sharing it into an organization and then downloading it into AppStudio Player. But if you want to give the end users of your app a better experience, you can also do that by creating a custom profile in AppStudio Player. We do this by starting with our ArcGIS org. Here, imagine I work for the city of Cilantro. This is my org's website, our ArcGIS site, and this is a group that I've created, the Public Works group. I have a description, I have an icon or a logo for my group, and I've shared a number of AppStudio apps into this group, as well as a few web apps. Now by editing some specific tags, such as the brand color, the group title, as well as a custom profile tag, we can now make this group come alive inside of AppStudio Player. I'm back in AppStudio Player, but now I'm going to choose the Select Profile button. I have a number of profiles to select from. One is that group, the Cilantro Public Works group. I'll click Apply, and now you see the AppStudio Player has the branding for my organization, has the title of this group, the Cilantro Public Works, and a number of apps that I can select. Here, I'm going to choose that hydrant inspection app that I got from Erwin earlier. I can now run this app locally, even with offline data. So this is the same app that Erwin created earlier, shared into a specific group that we're both members of, and then I created a custom experience by giving an icon, a thumbnail, a description, and specific tags. Your web apps can also come alive inside of AppStudio Player. So in the Web Apps tab, we now see a couple of web apps that have been shared to that group. So these are just websites running inside of AppStudio Player. So if you've created some websites with things like Web App Builder, you can show them inside of your AppStudio Player. So easily get them into the hands of the workers in your organization. All right, now we've already shown you how you can configure a template in AppStudio Desktop and then share it with others using AppStudio Player. All right, I'm now going to turn some time over to Erwin Sokianto, who's going to talk about customizing apps with code.
Thank you, Chris. I'm Erwin Sukianto. I'm the product engineer and product evangelist for AppStudio. I'm going to continue to talk about customizing apps with code. AppStudio templates come with predefined configuration. But what if you want to add or remove some functionalities that are not covered in the configuration? So we want to show you how to get into the source code of the AppStudio apps to do those customization. Before I begin, I want to talk about the programming language that is being used to create AppStudio apps. It is QML, Qt Meta Language. It is declarative language designed to build apps. QML is used for user interface, same as HTML and CSS if we were to compare it with web development. And we use JavaScript for business logic like events and function. We are using JavaScript ECMA 2627 edition. Alright, I have a couple demo that I wanted to show you on customizing with QML and JavaScript in AppStudio. Now you're looking at my desktop, showing AppStudio Desktop. The first demo I'm going to show is how to merge a couple samples that AppStudio Desktop provides into a single app. First, I'm going to choose the base app for it. I'm going to go to the layout section of the new app panel. In this layout section, we have several different samples on how to do common user interface layout to build app, such as side menu, onboarding layout, and for this demo, we are going to pick tab layout. I'm going to name this base app. Okay, let's run this base app. As you can see, this layout gives us 4 tab pages with nice header and option menu in the top. We have item 1, item 2, item 3, and item 4. So what we're going to do next is to choose a couple samples and merge them into this base app. Now we go to samples from a new app panel. AppStudio Desktop comes with more than 80 samples that show you functionality in AppStudio App Framework and ArcGIS Runtime SDK for Acute. I'm going to choose the first sample, ArcGIS Map Image Layer. I'm going to name it Sample 1. And then I'm going to choose the second sample. We're going to choose camera capture as sample 2. Okay, now let's run all 3 apps. This is the base app. I'm going to run sample 1 and then sample 2. So this is the base app. This is sample 1, which is showing an image layer, and then sample 2 that is showing camera capture. What we are going to do next is to move the code from sample 1 into item 1 and sample 2 into uh, item 2. Okay, let's open the source code for base app first. I'm going to click on the base app and then edit in Qt Creator. It would open another application called Qt Creator, which is the IDE where you manage the source code of the app. This is the source code of the tab layout sample. Just like any other programming language, it has all the imports. It is importing Qt libraries and another library from ArcGIS App Framework, which is AppStudio Framework. We have the app ID with width and a height and some properties that are defining the color in the app. We have a main page that is occupying the entire screen, anchor fill parent, and list model with 4 tabs, item 1, item 2, item 3, and 4. Let's take a look at mainpage.qml next. The main page is a page with a loader, a footer, and a top bar that we see here. And if you remember, during the slide, I mentioned that we are using QML language as a user interface, which is this page, loader, footer, and top bar, and JavaScript for business logic. This function, navigate to page, is being called from onCurrent index change of the tab bar. And this JavaScript function is calling the loader to load different page. I hope if you're a web developer, you can see a resemblance and similarity with web development. Okay, I'm going to go back to myapp.qml. As you can see that we have a page 1 view page that is loading a template page. Right now, all of these 4 pages are loading the same template page, with a different description that is showing in the label in the middle of the page. We are going to change this with the content of the source code from sample 1 and sample 2. If we look at template page.qml, it has a page, it has a header with a toolbar, which is this toolbar, this blue toolbar. We're going to minimize this, and then you can see that we have a rectangle, which is the content of the page with a label. This is what we are going to replace with the source code from sample 1 and sample 2. Okay, let's open the source code from sample 1 to see. All right, I have it a source code of sample 1 on the right, and then a source code of the base page on the left. So the one on the right, as we can see, we have a very similar content, which is an app with a page and then a content page with a page, a header toolbar, and then a content page that is a rectangle. So ideally, we want to copy this rectangle into this rectangle. Before we do that, we should make a copy of the template page. Going to show in Finder, and I'm going to copy this, copy it here. I'm going to make a copy twice. I'm going to name this copy 1 as a map page, and I'm going to name the other copy as a camera page. So after I do that, if I go here, I can see that we have a new camera page.qml and we have map page.qml. So now we're going to edit map page.qml. So we're going to just minimize the toolbar because we don't care about it. So now we are going to copy the content of this rectangle. I'm going to copy from map view until the close of this. So I'm going to copy, make sure I get all of the, okay, copy, and I'm going to replace it here. Let's replace the label. All right, we have copied it and we have a lot of error because we don't have the import statement for a map which is coming from the runtime. So I'm going to import ArcGIS, sorry, Esri runtime 100.10. And as you can see, as soon as I have the import statement for ArcGIS runtime, all of this map error messages is gone. So that's it. That's all we needed to do. We have a map page. Now we should go back to myapp.qml and then replace this template page with map page, and then we don't need to send a description anymore. So we just simply have a map page. We're going to save this. I'm going to rerun this app. Now you can see that in item 1, we are actually loading a map page from a sample 1. That is pretty easy, right? We have merged sample 1 into the layout sample, into the item 1. And we still have item 2, item 3, and item 4 the way it was. Okay, next I want to move the source code of the sample 2, the camera capture sample, into the item 2. Let's open the source code of item 2, sample 2. Sample 2. And we have the source code of sample 2 right here. And we also have the base app on the left. So same thing, as you can see on the right, we have sample 2, same structure. We have a page with a toolbar, which we are not going to touch. And then we have a rectangle that is a little bit longer. So I'm going to actually minimize it, and then copy the entire thing. Copy, and then I'm going to open camera page. Same structure. I'm going to just minimize the header and then replace the rectangle. I have moved this, and as you can see, I have also a lot of error message because I don't have all of the import statement that they have in the sample tool. So I'm going to just move all of the missing import statement here. So we have just imported Qt Graphical FX 1.0, Qt Dialog, Qt Multimedia, and then an AppStudio framework library for the camera and all of the rest of the things that's being used here. So for example, file folder. So I'm going to just remove this content item and then change this anchor so that it is anchoring to fill the parent. Okay, change that, and then I'm going to save this, and that's it. We have moved the source code from sample 2 into the base app. Same thing what we did, we're going to go back to my app and then make sure to change this template page with camera page. Camera page, and that's it. We're going to save this and try to rerun it again. And as you can see, we have item 1 that contains this from a sample 1, and we have item 2 that has a camera page, and then it will even take a picture, and then we have item 3 and 4 that are still the same as it was before. I hope this demo is useful to show you how easy it is to create app in App Studio by taking advantage of samples and layout that are provided in App Studio Desktop. That is all I have for my demo. I'm going to turn the time back to Chris. Thank you.
Now we just have a couple of slides I'd like to finish up with. And we're going to talk about how do you get App Studio, or what's the licensing for App Studio? Well, if you're familiar with ArcGIS user types, I want to let you know that all ArcGIS user types can work with App Studio. From viewer, editor, field worker, creator, JS professional, they can all download App Studio Player and run apps that have been created for them. And then if you're a creator or JS professional, you can actually get access to all the tools with App Studio. You get App Studio Desktop. You can configure your own template. You can write custom code, and you can share those with others using AppStudio Player. And then if you want to publish apps to the App Store, if you want to use the CloudMake service or some of our advanced templates, well, that requires a ArcGIS App Studio Developer Edition license, which comes with a paid developer subscription. So any of the developer subscriptions, builder level and above, have this App Studio Developer Edition license. Well, at the beginning, I talked a little bit about some of the challenges with app development, and now I want to really talk about the advantages of using App Studio for app development. One is reduced time and cost. We offer a flexible app distribution solution. When distributing apps, we use ArcGIS users and identities for app security, and these apps are cross-platform, so it's easier to build for multiple platforms, it's easier to maintain on multiple platforms. Thank you for joining this session. We have some other App Studio technical sessions here at the conference, so I invite you to watch these if you'd like to learn about what's new, if you'd like to learn more about creating custom native apps with our templates, or if you'd like to learn about machine learning and TensorFlow Lite, running these models on mobile devices using App Studio. We've got some great sessions. I encourage you to look at these sessions and watch those on your time. I'd also encourage you to provide feedback for the session by clicking on the session survey link directly below the video. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. All right. Hey, thank you all for joining us today. It's been really great to we kind of see the number of people come out to watch this session. We're excited to present this content. My name is Chris LeSueur. I am the product manager for App Studio, And also joining me today, we have Erwin. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey everyone, I'm Erwin Sukianto, Product Engineer and Product Evangelist for AppStudio. Thank you for joining us today.
All right, well, we had a number of questions come in today. This is great, we'll get to it. The first one it says, this guy's voice is calming. Sorry, that was me. Hopefully I didn't put you all to sleep. I don't know if that's a question or just a statement. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I have that effect when I'm speaking to the void at sometimes. But hopefully, I think we can tell that there's still a lot of people here. So I'm hoping you're still paying attention. All right, we have that's first comment or question. Some others. Let's jump into this one here. What is the cost of building apps with AppStudio Player? So I just, in that video, I'll expand on what I just talked about with licensing. So any ArcGIS account or ArcGIS user type who has a creator or above user type. So that means if you can create a map or a feature layer in your ArcGIS organization, you can also create an AppStudio app. Sorry, I'm going to turn off my my video temporarily because I've been told that my internet connection is a little unstable and it might help with the audio if I turn that video off. But anyway, let me get back to you. If you can create a map or a layer in your ArcGIS organization, then you can create an AppStudio app as well and have other users use that in AppStudio Player. So we give you tools in AppStudio Desktop. You can use the templates. You can configure templates. You can even write custom code. But the way you're going to distribute those is with AppStudio Player to other people in the organization. If you want to put your app into a public app store, into the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, or if you want to distribute it as a standalone app and through some other mechanism in your organization, well, that's going to require an AppStudio Developer Edition license. And you get a Developer Edition license through our an Esri paid developer subscription. So it's a separate subscription that you would get the paid developer subscription, get access to that license to basically be able to make a build, install build of your app so it can run as a separate installable app. I want to mention that developer subscription, years ago, we called it the Esri Developer Network or EDN. And your organization might have had some of those EDN licenses that got converted over to a developer subscription. So I always tell this to people, you might not know it, but your organization might have one of these developer subscriptions and you're not aware that you have that full license of AppStudio. So before you run out and ask purchasing to buy this new subscription, make sure that you don't already have that because you just might. All right. Next question. In what language is AppStudio programmed? Only in Qt? All right, Erwin, I'll let you handle that one.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned in the demo section, creating native app in AppStudio, use the programming language called QML for the UI, and then we're using JavaScript for application logic.
Right. So it's QML. If you're used to programming on the web, this is probably something that's going to be pretty familiar to you. Similar to using HTML and CSS to kind of model the look of your web app, and then JavaScript to do the business logic. Kind of similar with AppStudio. You're using JavaScript to do that business logic part, and the QML to build your app. So very approachable. I would say I'm not a developer, but it is a very approachable language. It's very, it's easy to read as far as programming languages go.
Yeah, I can probably read the next question, Chris.
Sure.
So the next question we have is, can we use AppStudio to extend field maps or build similar apps?
That's a good question. And I think there's, I saw another question that was similar. I'm going to kind of bundle these together. What are the advantages of using AppStudio in place of collector field maps field maps or quick capture. Can you extend field maps? So field maps, kind of our premier map-based data collection tool from AppStudio, from going out in the field with a map and collecting data. Can you extend field maps with AppStudio? No, you cannot. Field maps, the Field Maps app is built with different technology. It's built with the native Android or iOS development tools, and you can't really extend those with AppStudio. Could you build something similar? Yes, I will say it would take a lot of development from you to build your own custom version of field maps. There's just a lot that is in that app, a lot that a lot of nuance that goes into making sure they have the very best data collection experience. But you can build a data collection application or a map viewing application with AppStudio. You can take some of our templates for collecting data. You can take the map viewer template and collect information. One example is our map viewer template, which you don't even have to write code to deploy. One is that you can actually edit attribute information now in the map viewer template. So you could, if you just wanted to go out and view things on a map and just maybe edit the attributes of them, you can do that in our map viewer template. So you can, although you can't extend field maps, you can build some field data collection applications. But I definitely would, before you build your own, definitely make sure to see if field maps, Survey 123 or quick capture already meets your needs. And with that, I'll kind of jump into that second question. What are the advantages of using AppStudio in place of collector field maps or quick capture? I'll put Survey 123 in that as well. Well, the advantage is that you can customize it. You can put your own branding on it if that's what you need. You can put your own special little button that you might need to include in there. And with Survey 123 and quick capture, those are built with the same technology. They are built with AppStudio. So you can actually customize those completely. If you want your own branded version of Survey 123 with your own look and feel of your organization, you can do that. Or if you need to add some functionality to Survey 123 or quick capture, you can do that with AppStudio. That does require that developer edition license, to let you know. So it will require an Esri developer subscription and the developer edition license to customize those. Anything to add to that, Erwin?
No, you summed it up pretty well, Chris.
Okay.
The next question we have is, can apps be designed where the general public can sign up as user to save their own views or settings? For example, if San Juan wanted to have tourists sign up to their app for any updates from the city.
So being able to sign up to the app and maybe get updates from your app, I won't say it's not possible. That functionality is possible. It's not part of AppStudio. AppStudio, if these people, which they in this case wouldn't, if they had an ArcGIS named user account and they were logging in, we can manage that side of things, but we don't have any way to kind of manage people signing in and signing up for accounts. That doesn't mean you can't build that into your app. You could work with whatever web services and sign-in options are available to you to manage that. You could build those into your app.
Just to add to that, you can also use ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Hub to let the citizen to sign up as to create an ArcGIS account, then manage the user through an ArcGIS users.
True. So if you have an ArcGIS Hub, this is kind of you can imagine, if you're not familiar with that, it's kind of the public or citizen version of a ArcGIS Enterprise or ArcGIS Online that you kind of offer. That would be one way to solve that and allow people to sign up.
Yep. Next question. Is there an online App Studio, or do we have to download the software?
Oh, good question. So AppStudio, to customize the templates, to write custom code, it does require that you download AppStudio Desktop and work with AppStudio Desktop. The AppStudio Desktop is available for Windows, Mac, even a Linux, Ubuntu Linux build of it. But yes, you do have to download the desktop software to change the settings, the properties, to update your apps. The apps themselves get stored up in your ArcGIS organization, and you can share those with others. So they don't just, I guess they don't completely always live on your desktop, but that is where you do the editing. That is where you do the configuring of your apps.
Yep. Next question. Can we customize fonts, workflow, or even the UI itself? For example, I saw a Palm Spring example which was cool, but I would have liked to have had the option to have a map link on each picture versus only the main menu.
All right, good question. Well, I will say this: the first app I ever built for the App Studio is that Palm Springs app, and published that years ago. And I used a custom font. I found an open source, publicly available, usable custom font. And the name of that font is Caviar Dreams, which, nothing to me says Palm Springs like Caviar Dreams. So that app, that Palm Springs app, uses that custom font in it. And I changed some of the UI elements as well, just slightly. I moved a button, the main launch button, moved it around in code. So yes, you can add your own fonts, you can add your own images, your own, buttons. That you can do actually without any code, and then you can do a little more manipulation through the code. And then what was the second part of that question?
Was, changing the links from the menu to.
So when you click on something, right? If in that case, if to click on an image, if you wanted a different action to happen, if you wanted it to link out to something else, yes, that is totally doable, and pretty minor. If just kind of insert a line of code to launch something else, and you can kind of search through the code and figure out. When we first came out, there was no directions in that app. You couldn't get directions to any of these locations. Well, now there's we just kind of inserted to capture location, and if you click on one of the buttons and near the description, it'll launch you out to get directions to that application. So yes, you can definitely customize the apps in that way.
Next question, I think this is related to the AppStudio Player profile. If we wanted, could we move the cilantro group's header to the bottom, or even remove it altogether if we wanted?
So in that case, so I gave the little demo of the city of Cilantro, as you remembered, and it had our city branding, and then it showed up in Player. Yes, moving it to the bottom, that would take some custom. You'd have to create your own custom version of Player to move it to the bottom. But you could, I guess, remove it altogether. You just don't give that profile a title, and you could remove that altogether. So I showed you, hey, you can take our out-of-the-box AppStudio Player that you get from the app stores, and you can kind of skin it and give it this own custom look and feel for people in your organization. There's the next level beyond that is I want to take that AppStudio Player and I want to skin it completely my own. I don't want any Esri logos. I want it to look like just my organization's app player. And we've had people that have done that. So we give you the template. One of the templates, one of our premier templates that you get with the developer edition, is the player itself. So we have people that have taken that template, customized it, and put it in their organization. So now the devices in their organization have this custom app plane, native app plane app on it, and behind the scenes you can just distribute apps, your custom apps, to them that run inside of it. I mean, imagine it's a similar concept of a web browser, plain web pages, except for this is plain native apps that perform well, that can access the GPS and take data offline and things like that. Before, as I was just thinking, before we go any further, I have a survey. I'm going to publish that right now. So you should see in your little slide link there the ability to answer some survey questions. Then we'll continue on here with some more of these Q&A.
All right.
All right.
The next question is, does AppStudio allows for creating apps that support push notification?
Oh, push notification. We are working on that. In fact, Erwin, I'll let you answer that a little more on what we're doing there.
Right. Push notification is coming. It's something that we are currently working. It's not in the current 5.0 beta, but we actually have a little demo showing what we're working on in the next session, ArcGIS App Studio, what's new regarding push notification. But push notification is in the pipeline. It's currently being worked on, and it's coming on the next release.
Great. Yeah, that is one that we've been working on or thinking about, and it's been asked many times, this push notification request, but it's not. You can imagine it's push notification. There's a server side of it. There's something that's pushing a notification, and how do we manage that? Where does that come from? So we're doing some work that we could work with some of these notification services.
Yep.
All right.
Next question, Chris. You mentioned advanced templates are available with developer edition of the app. What are this template, and does the App Studio app automatically display this based on license level?
So those advanced templates, as I mentioned, are you'll be able to see them, I think, at any license level, but to actually download and use them requires that that developer edition. So I say advanced. Actually, in the new app dialog, it's titled Enterprise. So that is the quick capture. It is Survey 123. It's AppStudio Player. And then it's also a couple. We have OGO, which is a kind of an augmented reality app. Trek to there for finding kind of a digital compass application, as well as a tile package creator app for creating tile packages. So those are our. Sometimes we refer to them as advanced apps. Sometimes they're referred to as enterprise apps, and those are the. I say to be able to download and use those requires that developer edition license.
All right. Next question. I think I'm going to answer this. Can I open collector from Survey 123 using App Studio without problem with whitelisting in iOS? So if you create a custom Survey 123 app using App Studio for iOS, you need to whitelist the URL that you're going to open if you're using the URL scheme URL, meaning that is the one ArcGIS-collector:// that is the URL scheme. It needs to be whitelisted. But all of the Esri app right now also support a a different type of link, meaning that you can go https://collector.arcgis.com/app https collector.arcgis.app and then put the parameter. That type of URL does not need to be whitelisted. So you can do it by using the app link instead of a URL scheme. The next question is, can we add third-party libraries into App Studio? You can, yes. App Studio support using a JavaScript library as long as they are vanilla JavaScript library, meaning that there are no jQuery or Dojo that has their own DOM-related functionality that are not supported. Those things are not supported because we don't have such DOM in App Studio, but the vanilla version of JavaScript library are supported. You can simply drop that JavaScript file, and then you can import that in the top of the QML file. All right.
Hey, I want to make one little announcement. Is that before people drop off, and we're doing great here. If you want to meet the team and ask us questions during the conference, we've actually set up a separate Zoom meeting that goes throughout the conference, and there's always App Studio team members there. So I'm pushing that in the announcements right now, the link, and you can jump into that after this meeting. You can jump to tomorrow or the next day, and we can give demos, we can answer questions, but there'll be team members there. So I just want to throw that out there before before we get cut off, maybe.
Yep. We have about maybe 6 more minutes, correct, Chris?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. We still have a few more questions to go through.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll answer some of these others. Some of the other questions, we will answer them in the platform channel. So there's a little chat room, and there's a ArcGIS platform. That's where we'll answer a few of these, as well as go ask them in the in that Zoom meeting.
Next one is there a template that support for viewing and editing featured attributes?
Editing feature attributes. Yes, I mean, we have you can view and edit the feature attributes in our map viewer template now. So that was added in December to the map viewer template.
Yep. And we have, can I use this to create a quote unquote, where is my school bus type of app based on geo event server?
I'm not a I haven't used Geo Event Server much. I'm not like too proficient, but I know that you can create feature services from Geo Event Server. So you can create a feature service, and those data coming from that, we can definitely bring that into AppStudio and display it in an app. So that's yeah. I'm going to say yes, you can do that.
All right. Next question: are AppStudio app customization dependent on Acute creator licensing?
Is it dependent on Acute creator licensing? There's another question I'm going to bundle with this one. It says, can you create apps with e-commerce functions like the ability to purchase, download spatial data for the user located in the app? So right now, we embed Acute Creator with our app and allow users to use that when you are building AppStudio apps, and that's from another company, but we have a relationship and a licensing with them to embed that. And you're free to use that and build your own apps with Acute Creator, customize them. When you do get to a point where you're creating apps that you're going to be selling, so apps that generate revenue, apps that you sell in app stores, apps that you sell that app individually, as a standalone app somehow and distribute it, apps that generate money through like ads, if they're generate revenue through ads, that actually is a separate licensing you need to do with Acute company. You would have to get their full Acute developer, commercial developer SDK to do that. So if you are going to have people purchase and download spatial data from your app, that would require AppStudio. It would also require that you purchase a full commercial SDK, Acute SDK license from the Acute company. And if you go to their Acute QT website, you can see more information about that.
Yep. I just wanted to add that if you're not building any app that are generating revenue, the AppStudio desktop comes with a special license of the Qt creator, so you don't need to have any Qt creator license to build the app. So with the installation of AppStudio desktop, Qt creator comes pre-installed.
Yeah, it's just part of the install with desktop. You get Qt creator and you can start using it.
Yep. I think we have been warned that we have 2 minutes left. I feel like this 2 questions can be answered as one at the same time. Can this be used in an enterprise environment or only in ArcGIS Online? Is it the same for the functionality that packages the app for different platforms? Second question is, can I easily share an app created in AppStudio desktop application to a portal instead of ArcGIS Online?
All right. So yes, AppStudio works with ArcGIS Enterprise and ArcGIS Online. So your own hosted, servers as well. You can share apps into groups. You can upload them into those different, into Enterprise or Online and share them with others. They can run those log in with AppStudio Player and run those. So that's not a problem. I think the biggest question to people, well, I want to actually create a separate build. I want to create a build of my app that I'm going to put into the app stores, or I'm going to distribute separately. That's we call it our Cloud Make service, that you're accessing these build servers in the cloud. To do that, your app needs to be stored in ArcGIS Online, means in an online area, so that our build servers can see it and process it. If it's on your own servers, we can't see it. So one thing is, if you do have that developer subscription, which is required for doing one of these builds, then that in itself, you have access to a little ArcGIS Online org that you could use to build your apps. It doesn't mean that the The data is being shared to online. The data can still be on your own servers, could still be in ArcGIS Enterprise. It's just that's where the build of the app is happening. And then there is the ability to set up your own build machines. We call it a local make. So if you can't put anything, have it upload to online, you can do a local make, meaning set up your own build servers for iOS, Android, and all that stuff, and do a local make. It's a little more complex, but you can do that if you need to do your own builds. All right. It was so great to have so many questions, and we will answer more of these questions in the platform channel, discussion channel. And please reach out to us for more questions on that Zoom account or through the platform. We've been told we need to wrap up, but thank you so much. It's great to have so much interest, and we'd love to hear the cool things you're making with AppStudio, or question the things you want to build with AppStudio. So thank you.
Thank you.